He didn't come from luxury, he didn't come from approval, and he didn't come from a system that wanted him to win. He came from hunger, not just for money, but for recognition. School didn't define him, degrees didn't protect him, gatekeepers didn't respect him. They laughed at his confidence, they called it arrogance, they called it delusion. Because when someone believes in themselves more than the world believes in them, the world gets uncomfortable. Kanye didn't ask to be accepted. He demanded to be undeniable. He walked into rooms where nobody wanted to hear him. He played beats for people who ignored him. He spoke ideas that sounded impossible. And every rejection didn't quiet him. It sharpened him. He wasn't trying to fit into the industry. He was trying to bend it. Because he wasn't powered by humility. He was powered by ego, the kind that feels dangerous until it becomes productive. This is not a story about talent alone. It's a story about obsession, conflict, and a belief so loud it forced the world to adjust. This is the story of Kanye West. Before the brand, before the stadium shows, before the billion-dollar headlines, he was invisible. Just a producer. A name in the credits people didn't read. He made hits for others. He built soundtracks for careers that weren't his. And when he said he wanted more, the industry laughed. They said he didn't look like a rapper, didn't sound like one, didn't carry the right story. He wasn't from the streets the way they wanted. He wasn't hardened the way they expected. He wasn't silent and obedient. He was ambitious in public. And ambition, when you haven't earned permission yet, is treated like arrogance. He kept pushing. He played demos in rooms where nobody listened. He asked for deals that nobody offered. He walked into meetings already knowing they would say no. But the ego didn't shrink, it grew. Not because he was loved, because he was resisted. And resistance is fuel for people who refuse to be small. Then came the accident, a car crash, a broken jaw, wires in his mouth. Pain that should have ended momentum became a statement. He recorded through it, he performed through it. He turned injury into proof that he wasn't asking anymore. He was declaring, and when the world finally looked at him, it wasn't because they believed in him. It was because he refused to disappear, even when his body tried to. When he finally broke through, it didn't feel like a debut. It felt like revenge. Not revenge against a person, against a system that had tried to keep him in the background. The music hit differently, not because it was louder, because it was personal. He wasn't performing a role. He was exposing himself, and that honesty made him dangerous. The industry wanted artists who followed rules. Kanye wanted to rewrite them. Every album became a statement. Every interview became conflict. Every success made his ego expand instead of settle. But ego wasn't the side effect. It was the engine. Because he didn't just want to be famous. He wanted to be untouchable. And slowly, music wasn't enough. He started talking about design, about fashion, about architecture, about building things that would outlast charts. People mocked him again. They said he was a musician. They said he should stay in his lane. They said fashion houses didn't need him. But Kanye never respected lanes. He saw culture as one ecosystem. Music, clothes, identity, status, all connected. And if you could control culture, you didn't need permission from industries. You could build your own. So he kept pushing, not with patience, with obsession, not with humility, with certainty. And the more he was rejected, the more his belief hardened into something that looked irrational until it started working. Fashion didn't welcome him. It tolerated him. Designers smiled in public and dismissed him in private. Executives nodded politely and waited for him to fail. Because the fashion world doesn't respect outsiders. It respects legacy, gatekeeping, approval. Kanye had none of it. He walked into that world with confidence that felt offensive. He spoke like he belonged. He demanded space. He demanded collaboration as if his name alone was enough. And for a long time, it wasn't. Deals collapsed. Meetings went nowhere. Brands used him for attention, then pushed him aside. He was mocked again, the same way he was mocked when he wanted to rap. But he didn't retreat. He studied. He obsessed. He designed in silence while people laughed in public. Then Yeezy began to form, not as a product line, as a philosophy. Minimal colors, harsh silhouettes, aesthetic that looked unfinished until it became recognizable. And once it became recognizable, it became unavoidable. The first real success didn't come from acceptance. It came from tension, from controversy, from curiosity, from the feeling that this brand didn't belong to fashion rules, it belonged to culture. And culture doesn't wait for permission. Slowly, people stopped laughing, not because they agreed with him, because the demand was real, because the product sold out, because influence followed, because ego, when paired with execution, turns into gravity. Yeezy didn't become global because it was safe. It became global because it felt inevitable. It wasn't just clothing. It was a signal that the old rules about who gets to design, who gets to lead, who gets to be taken seriously could be rewritten by force of belief. People called Kanye unstable. They called him arrogant. They called him impossible. And sometimes they were right. But ego isn't always a flaw. Sometimes ego is the only thing strong enough to push a person through rejection after rejection when logic says stop. He didn't build a brand because the world supported him. He built it because the world doubted him. And doubt gave him something powerful, a reason to prove reality wrong. Kanye West didn't win by being accepted early. He won by being rejected repeatedly until rejection became irrelevant. His ego didn't make him easy. It made him unstoppable. And in the end, the same confidence people mocked became the pressure that moved an entire industry. Some people aren't pushed forward by talent. They're pushed forward by the refusal to be ignored until the world has no choice but to look.